Hello and welcome to your 15th Java tutorial. I will start off this tutorial with saying that I'm sorry that I have not been able to post videos recently. I've been sidetracked with other things in my life. So I have created a new class called Final Example. If you don't want to delete an old class you've made, you can keep it. This is just a name I have given to this class. So I have started with the normal public static void main thing, and if you haven't learned that, you should definitely probably go and watch some of my earlier videos. So, today we will be going over the final keyword, and as you can probably infer from my final example, this will be an example of that keyword, and also be explaining what it does. So I'm going to start with a quick case scenario. So suppose you're a professional programmer and you're programming some giant new software that's going to revolutionize the internet. And you've got this number that for some reason keeps coming up again and again in your programming to represent something. Suppose the number is 23. And then you've done this and you've written a million lines of code. Then you realize, wait, I didn't want that to be 23. I wanted that to be 24. What you'd have to do is you're going to have to go back in and change each of the individual 23s to 24. And doing that can be a pain. So, basically, we're going to show how to assign a variable a number. And this variable will be associated with the entire class, just like static. Except that you won't be able to change it. It'll just be a variable that will stay the same from the beginning of your code to the end of the code. You will designate it in your code and it will not change throughout the program. Also, I'm going to be going over the naming convention for this type of variable. Okay, so let's get started. The way you do this is to assign these variables, you assign them up outside of your main method. So the way you do it is you go final, and then whatever variable type it is, it could be an integer, it could be a string, it could be a char, it could be your own class that you made. And for this case scenario, we're going to use an integer because that's how it often comes up. You name it. And for naming, generally what you want to do is all capitals separating words by an underscore. So for this one, I will do final underscore example. And then you set it equal to something. Almost always right here you will set it equal to something. Sometimes with variables you'll just want to put a comma here and then set it in this code. But in this case scenario, you just want to set it equal to something right here. So for example, just to stick with our old thing, we're going to use 23. So I'm just going to run a quick program. So I'm going to make a new scanner object. And if you don't know what a scanner object is, you can see that in one of my previous tutorials. So, now that you have that, yes, okay. Now that you have that, you need to import scanner, just like always. And don't forget to capitalize system. You need to import scanner. You can do that by putting your mouse over it and go import scanner. If you don't, you can type this code at the top of your class. So then we're going to ask them for a number. So we'll go system.out.print, and we will have it write enter, sorry, it was dumb of me, your number, sorry, my keyboard is fritzing up, and I will operate upon that number. Why is the M key? Okay. So, and colon space to indicate that they're expected to enter something. Then we're going to use our scanner that we created and go s.next line to get a string. Actually, we don't want next line in this case scenario. I just realized we're going to want next int. So next int. So that expects them to return an int. So then we will basically just print out a bunch of stuff using their number and the number that we set as final example. So system.out.print line, and I'm just gonna make a couple of these. Actually, I'm gonna make 3 more. So 2, 3, 4 in total. So we'll say your number times my number is, and then we can add on to that 20. No, that's the point, is that we don't do that. We can add to that final example times at sorry, we forgot to set this to a variable. I'm going to set it to I. It's not a very good name, but it'll work for now. And then we're going to put parentheses in this. I'm not sure that it matters, but just for consistency. Now I'm going to copy this, paste that in there, and I'm going to change this to plus. And why is this giving me an error? Because this needs to be static. I lied. It actually, well, for the most part you won't have to do this, but because we're working inside of our main class, which is a static class, you will need the keyword static, and I'm sorry about that I didn't mention that. So that should fix the error, and then we can enter final example plus I, and then we can copy this again. I'm actually going to paste it here and here. Minus my number. Oh, minus my number. Sorry. This one needs to stay plus. This one needs to be minus. My number is equal to this minus this. And the same thing with division. Divided by. So that's it, and then we're going to say, can you, no, sorry, system.out.print line, and we're going to ask them, can you guess what my number was? We can do that, and then we can take another integer, and we're going to have an integer called guess, which is going to equal s.nextInt to get an int from them, and then we're going to do an if-else statement saying that if guess equals final example, then we just want to say you're right. And for if they get it wrong, whoop, sorry about that. If they get it wrong, we'll say you're wrong. And that's it. Just a very simple program. Or let's say you're not right. So, now let's run this and see if we mess something up, and if so, we can go back in and fix it. So, as you can see, I set it over here, and I'll actually expand that so you can see it better. So, enter a number and I will operate upon it. I'm going to do 46 for simplicity, and it'll say that your number times my number is this. And I'm actually just going to take its word for it because I'm too lazy. But if the other ones are correct, I will assume that this one's correct. Your number plus my number is this number, which is correct. Your number minus my number. Oh, see? We made a I made a mistake. I said it like this. So, oftentimes debugging is a normal part of programming. So, yeah. So, that's basically that. And then we can run that again. So, this is right, this is right, this is right, and then this is right. Can you guess what my number was? And we can guess, since we actually already know. It's 23, and it's going to say you're right. But suppose you want to change this number to something simpler, like 2. Now you run this program again, and all of that gets fixed without you having to go back into the code and change it yourself. So the number we want to operate on this time, say 8. So 2 times 8 is 16, 2 plus 8 is 10, 8 minus 2 is 6, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Can you guess what your number was? Let's see if we, just to make sure that it's working, so we'll enter something wrong in this time and do 3. And you're not right. So that's it for my lesson on final variables. I hope you got away from this, that final variables can be a great way to be a placeholder for a number, basically, that you can use to represent a number. That way, if you want to change the number later, it's easy. You can do a sweep through and change everything, instead of having to go back in the code and change each little number individually. So, that's it for this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.